stories that kind of spread around social media, Facebook, Instagram, or whatnot. And some of them are kind of silly, eating cinnamon or whatever else. But there's a dog food company, or the owner of a dog food company, who's taken it upon himself to spend 30 days eating nothing but the dog food that his company produces. Right? And your eyeballs, what dog food for 30 days? And he says yes. And to him, it's a testament to the quality of the food that his company makes. It's to the quality of the ingredients, to the food itself, that he's willing to eat it for 30 days, so it must be great for your dogs. And it's got a lot of attention. A lot of people, kind of raising eyebrows and giving it kind of a look. So I thought we would go ahead and just ask him himself, let him talk in his own words about what his thought process is, and let him kind of speak for himself. So we have Mitch Felderhoff here on the show. Mitch, welcome to East Texas Now.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I'll let you just kind of kick things off. Tell us who you are and the company that you're with.
My name is Mitch Felderhoff, and I'm with Muenster Milling Co. We're a pet food manufacturer north of Dallas.
So the thing that's gotten everybody's attention, of course, is the 30-day dog food challenge. So tell us how that came about.
Well, we've got to look for creative ways on how we can compete with some of the bigger brands that have a nationwide, advertising budget that we just frankly don't have. And so we've got to get creative and figure out how do we put our name out there. And what can we do that they won't do? And we figured the CEO of those companies is probably not willing to eat their own food for a month.
So how long have you been doing this now?
I am on day 28. I've got 2 more days.
And I guess the question is, how's it gone so far?
Well, it's gone pretty well. I've lost about 25, 26 pounds and feel pretty good. I'm incredibly sick of eating dog food, but only 2 more days. So I would say overall it's gone well.
Okay, so a question that I had is a personal curiosity. We kind of hear a lot about with our pets, we don't give them people food because it's not necessarily good for them. So what is it that you're doing that makes your dog food okay for pets and for people?
So I wouldn't say that we necessarily advertise it for people, but I think the point of it is we know what we're getting every time. We work with a lot of local farmers and local growers, and our sweet potatoes we get from East Texas, and our chicken comes from East Texas. And we get a lot of sorghum and millet locally, and then we also get some from East Texas as well. So we know where our product's coming from, and we've been working with those suppliers. Some of them are well over 30, 40 years, and some of the grain suppliers even 80 years. So just knowing where we get the ingredients from and that it's not being made at 12, 13 different locations is something that has really given me comfort, and I feel confident in eating it.
So how long have y'all been making the dog food, been in business?
We've been in business for 87 years. It'll be 88 this April, and we've been making pet food for 30 years.
So before that, what were you doing?
We were doing livestock feed, so we made dairy feed. And before that, back in the Depression, my great-grandfather was a sharecropper, and he started a flour mill so the farmers would have something somewhere close to bring the grain.
Now, you mentioned the fact that doing this challenge, you've lost a lot of weight in the 28 days that you've been doing it. Before you did it, did you consult a doctor? And in the time that you've been doing it, have you had a physician kind of monitoring your progress and what's been going on?
Yeah, so I went to a doctor the morning I started, and we did a full blood panel and a urine panel, and so I've got blood work and lab work from that. The doctor said, look, I'm okay with you doing it. I'm not recommending it or endorsing it, but if you have an issue, call me and we'll look at it. And then at the end of the 30 days, come back in, we'll run another blood panel, and we'll look at the results and see how it worked for you. So, I've been staying in contact, and so far I felt great, so there's really been no need to go in, but we will be doing kind of a before and after, get before and after photos, and also we'll have some blood work to compare.
Okay, so, we're glad you're okay, first of all.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the fact that, you don't have the marketing budget that some bigger companies do. So in that regard, I know you're here on the show talking to us, so obviously the word's gotten out, but how has the response been? How has the reaction been to what you're doing and just to the whole project?
It's been mostly positive. I think, a lot of it was for our current customers, just to kind of reinforce that, hey, what we're doing for your dog is good, and we're not going to feed your dog something that we wouldn't eat ourselves. but yes, it's worked. It's gotten our name out there. A lot more people know who we were than the amount of people who knew us a month ago. And it's giving us a lot of insight to what it's like to actually eat like a dog and live on a diet that we feed our dogs. So I think we're getting some firsthand perspective on what it's like to eat like a dog.
That's actually a really interesting point. So, I mean, have you been able to, again, I mean, obviously the perspectives are different and the physiology is different, but has that been like an unintended consequence or a result is to walk away from this with a better idea of how to make the food or anything else?
Yeah. I think the thing that we've learned the most about probably is how to feed the dog. And so I've experimented a couple different ways, eating 3 times a day, 2 times a day, 1 time a day, how much to eat, and have really I feel much, much better when I only eat 1 time a day. And I feel a lot better when I include the freeze-dried raw into the diet because it brings the carbohydrates down and you don't have that insulin spike and energy drop. And I'm caffeine-free too this whole month. So, and thank God I haven't needed it.
So I guess, do you have the people on hand who can correlate that to what the dog experiences when they eat it?
Yeah, so we work with a PhD nutritionist, and what we're going to do is kind of take all to him and say, look, tell us the science behind this, how does it work, how do we use it as an educational component to fight obesity in dogs, which is kind of our main priority because 60% of dogs are obese now.
Well, that's a good point as well, and I'm guessing that the feed plans is that another step of it, not just the food and how it's made, but offering different ways to ideas on how to actually feed your animals.
Yes, absolutely. And so the first thing that we're doing is we're implementing the ability to customize one single bag. And so when you order a bag of food, if you want to add salmon oil because the skin and coat is a little rough, or you want to add bacon fat to add bacon, because what dog doesn't like bacon, right? And it's all about judging your dog and feeding what's right for your dog, because every dog is different. It's like popcorn. All the kernels don't pop at once, right? And so we've got to find what's right for each individual dog and what's right for feeding each individual dog. So it's taking a more individual look at the pet and how to feed it.
So is there anything that you've been able, has been your standby for the past 28 days that without that you couldn't have made it through?
Yeah, probably our freeze-dried chicken and beef meatballs. Those have been they have carried me for sure. Because a lot of the other stuff, it's just hard to eat. The stuff that dogs like the most makes me want to puke.
So when you're done, 2 more days you said, what's the first thing you're going to have for people food?
I'm going to go straight to this restaurant here in town called Marty B's over in Argyle. They've got fantastic barbecue, and I don't know if they make enough. I'm going to eat everything I can.
Okay. Well, Mitch, we appreciate your time talking to us. It sounds like you've really accomplished what you're trying to accomplish with this whole challenge, and I'm glad you're doing okay. I'm glad the dogs are doing okay. We look forward to seeing more from what you're doing.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to check us out, 30daysofdogfood.com. We've got the full journey there, and they can watch all the YouTube videos.
All right, Mitch, thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon, bud.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, so there you go. Mitch Felderhoff with the Muenster Milling Company. Again, 30-day dog food challenge, just eating nothing but his company's dog food. And it's interesting that not only is it a way to kind of put their money where their mouth is. We give this food to your dogs, but it's good enough for us as well. But also, a point I didn't consider is that it helps them in a roundabout way, because again, physiology differences and whatnot, but it gives them a way to improve their product. How does this make me feel? How would it make my dogs feel? Et cetera and so forth. So not just something they're doing for stunt marketing. Of course, that's definitely helping getting the word out, but also getting some real benefit out of the project. So really interesting stuff. Of course, like you said, you can find the whole thing online. 30 days of dog food with Mitch. I have a little bit of that here. You can kind of see it for yourself. Like this is him eating the dog food, and of course talking about how he feels. He mentioned that he lost 28 pounds while he was doing it, and it is more or less an ad, if you will, for the company, but it's an interesting way of looking at the product and how it's made, and again, treating your animal's health is just as robustly as you would your own. So check it out on YouTube, and of course, if you missed this interview, we'll have it posted online a little bit later. And a big thanks once again to Mitch Felderhoff from the Muenster Milling Company.